Purpose-driven creatives, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, they don't usually struggle with talent. Talent is not usually the thing that they struggle with. They struggle with clarity, with energy, with the courage to do something that no one else has done.
Welcome to the Sound Body Initiative, a place for those who sense there's something deeper happening beneath the surface, and where lived experience meets between sound, body, and soul. Here we're talking creativity, consciousness, and real-life inquiry, exploring what it actually means to be human right now. So slow down, tune in, and remember how connected we really are.
And we're back, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for being here with me today, for spending your time with me. It means so much. First of all, I just want to say, seriously, thank you so much for being here on the ground floor with me as we're building the Sound Body Initiative. If you're tuning into these early episodes, you are such a fucking champ because I know that they're not perfect, and getting into anything new comes with a lot of hiccups along the way, things that you're kind of just testing out, trying out new things, and it's a work in progress. And, I think that really speaks to where this episode is going today. So we're talking about creativity, clarity, and being a conscious leader in the modern world, so to speak. And I know I said this isn't really like an advice show, but today is kind of an advice episode. Really, this is all started because this is advice to myself. These are conversations and that go on in my head, my imaginary friend that lives in my head that I'm constantly talking to all day. And I think this is really a testament to how you need to be super comfortable with getting uncomfortable as a creative, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is really doing anything new, anything outside of the ordinary or that hasn't been done. For example, last week I was uploading my first episodes, honestly. So I know we're on the 5th episode right now, but batch content is a thing. So I was getting my uploads and everything ready. And literally, I just had the resolution too high and I didn't have things formatted right. And it took me 2 days to get things uploaded and they didn't even end up posting correctly. So I was literally about to throw in the towel. I didn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, what's the point? This is not fun. But honestly, the feedback and the comments and the messages that I've gotten over the last week since starting the broadcast live to the public, I mean, really, it's made my heart so full. I'm super grateful because just these words of encouragement, honestly, they really keep me going because, I get caught up in my head a lot. I think we all have really high expectations of ourselves and we are always the hardest on ourselves. So it's really important for us to share kind words with one another and support one another, especially when, we genuinely have something good to say, because you just never know when the words that come out of your mouth are going to be the words that, keep somebody going another day. So thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. It means so much. So with all that said, I want to say, first of all, you are a creative. I don't care if you think that you're not an artist or you're not a creative in some way. You, by nature, by your very human existence, are a creator. You have the capacity to make something out of nothing. So to what degree you use those abilities is up to you. Really want to encourage you to use them more. But whether you are making a song or a recipe, or you're building a business, or you're raising a child, you are a creator as human. It is your birthright for you to bring forth creation into this world. My thoughts around this are that because we are creatives by nature, it is our duty to shape our culture with our creative gifts. So whether you are an actual creative, someone who's in the quote unquote creative field, or whether you're somebody who's building businesses or working with teams, if you've ever had an idea come to your head that you want to bring to life, then this episode is for you. It is our duty as creatives, as entrepreneurs, as conscious leaders to shape our culture. There is a beautiful quote that I heard so long ago, and it inspires me to continue sharing my gifts with others. And I think it's an unknown quote. I know I probably quote stuff a lot and I don't have the proper sources from them, but just know none of this information is from me. But the quote goes, "Your talents were God's gifts to you. What you do with those talents are your gift to God." And I just think that is so profound, because we have this responsibility to give back to the creation that has birthed us. It's like the natural balance of life. If we're not giving back to the life that we've been given, then what are we doing with ourselves? And this is something that I think about a lot, because I watch the creative industry, I watch pop culture just kind of unfold, and it's so egomaniacal. And you really see what happens when people aren't using their gifts for the good of all. And you look at how corrupt Hollywood is. People who have everything, they appear to be living these dream lives, and they end up committing suicide, or they had to do these heinous, horrible things to get there. So I know that's not the kind of world that I want to live in. I know that's not the kind of world that you want to live in. So really, we're here to talk about how can we refine our gifts, how can we refine our creative skills and use them in a way that positively impacts not only the world that we live in, but also the world that our children are going to live in. So it's interesting that as creatives, we are one of the most undervalued demographics in society. I mean, I know I'm getting into like a little bit more of like the traditional creative space here, but if you've ever been a musician or an artist, then you know that everybody wants you to work for free, yet nobody's business or no one's endeavors is complete without your artwork, Like, music is the backbone of everything that we see in pop culture, from what's in commercials to what's playing in the background that keeps people shopping in stores. Yet, musicians and artists, they're the most undervalued in society. And it's kind of crazy to me. And I think that's probably just part of the program, because why would a society that, I shouldn't say a society, but why should a patriarchal system that benefits from people's enslavement, why would they want the most creative and inspired and loving individuals to have any type of financial freedom? So, we're dealing with some tricky program shit here. We're trying to get out of it. So it's hard to walk your own path. You can have mentors, you can listen to podcasts, but ultimately, no one has walked the path before you. No matter what it is you're creating, no matter what it is you're building, if it's, like I said, if it's your business, if it's your art, or if it's your children, there has never been another story like yours before. So if there was a handbook on how to succeed in your shoes, somebody would have given it to you already, and they haven't. So you really just have to fuck around and find out. And you have to have thick skin to do it. Like, you really do. I see so many creatives and so many individuals just like completely beat up on themselves and end up spoiling their gifts because they just don't have the grit that it takes to fail over and over and over again. And it's sad, because I see a lot of talent wasted this way. I think it's just such a travesty, because going back to that quote, the talents that you have, those were your God-given talents. Those are the gifts that you came into this world with. And it is part of the natural balance that you give those gifts back to the world. And so I understand it's hard, I understand it's tough, but we're not here to whine and cry and moan, are we? We're here to overcome. We're here to rewrite the rules. We're here to tell our own story. We're here to support and uplift each other so that we can be the conscious creators and the leaders of our society. That's it. That's what we're here to do. So, point is, purpose-driven creatives, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, they don't usually struggle with talent. Talent is not usually the thing that they struggle with. They struggle with clarity, with energy, with the courage to do something that no one else has done. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to give just some little perspective shifts, some tips and tools that I personally use, and also some tips that I'm trying to implement into my own life so that I can be better at this whole creation process and being more in my flow and seeing the outcomes that I want from my creative endeavors. So here they are. One, we like a good list, okay? Detach from the outcome. Create without asking, will this sell? Instead, ask, is this true? So detaching from the outcome, that's a really interesting thing for me because I grew up my entire life so attached to this identity of being a musician, being a singer, being a performer. And even in the face of seeing parts of that world and parts of that lifestyle that I didn't really align with, however, I was still resistant from kind of allowing things to unfold a little bit differently. So here I am now unfolding a little bit differently. And really a big part of that was detaching from the outcome, detaching from what my success would look like, and what it actually means to walk in the shoes of a conscious creator. So number two, reconnect with your why. A lot of people are just really, again, chasing the high, chasing the fame, chasing the looks, the appearance, the glory that they're going to get. But really the whole reason that you're doing anything is because there's something deep inside of you that is meaningful. There's meaning to your work. So reconnect with your why, feel it. That's your creative fuel. That's the thing that's going to keep you going whenever you are discouraged and whenever you feel like throwing in the towel. And make yourself little notes. I have little sticky notes on my refrigerator, on my laptop. Even sometimes I will take screenshots and put them on my home screen of my phone to just remind me, why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. Really important. The next one is to create before you consume. I get trapped in this all the time because a lot of times we're just looking for inspiration and then we end up going on a dopamine trip and just consuming and getting completely lost in the external stimuli when in reality, the thing that is going to help us create what's most beautiful and most unique to us is completely within. So it's about clearing space. It's about getting rid of the consumption, consuming as little as possible. Even when it comes to food and stuff, a lot of people get insights and downloads when they are in a fasting state or when they're eating very pure, nutrient-rich food, which makes sense because, electrolytes that are in these food actually create electrical charges in our body. Our cells can communicate more clearly. And being vibrational light beings, we are able to receive these transmissions. So don't consume, make something first. I don't know if that's making sense, but don't go down the dopamine death trap before you do something that fuels your own personal motives first in your day. Next one is to move your body. This is a huge one. This is a huge one because, and I know this firsthand, if you've been listening to these a little bit, you know a little bit about my story with pain and trapped energy and emotion in my body. But I also, I do a lot of work like this. I do a lot of production stuff. So that's pretty sedentary work. Even musician stuff is pretty sedentary because you are kind of locked in at either an instrument or a computer. So that stillness, I don't even want to call it stillness because it's not like a completely relaxed stillness, at least not for me. But, you know, you get locked into these repetitive patterns and you're not moving in ways, and energy gets trapped in your body. And so anytime that I dance, walk, wiggle around, even like do little exercises, lunges, anything like that, it immediately engages my creative sensors. It starts moving energy around the body. Again, the cells are communicating, the electricity is moving through your neurons and firing in ways that they have been trapped and stuck up until that point. So get up off your ass, move around, go listen to this week's music mix. It's full of really beautiful textures and like some expansive soundscapes. I don't want to say soundscapes. They're not soundscapes because it's still groovy. You can still dance to it. But it's like chiller vibes, something that's just going to kind of put you into a relaxed but creative state, and also has a nice rhythm and pulse to it. So you'll be able to move your body too. Highly recommend. That's why we pair these episodes. I mean me. That's why I pair these episodes with the music mix. I always wonder why I say we. Like, I think there's other entrepreneurs and like business owners who do this too. Like, when they talk about their business, even though they're a solopreneur, they say we. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because there's like this split personality that's happening. It's like business in the front, party in the back type thing. If you have any idea why we say that about our businesses, please fucking let me know, because I kind of feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit sometimes when I say that. But anyway, I do this all by myself. If you want to help me, reach out. Next one, I think this is number 5. This is a huge one. These are all big. I say that everyone. Change your environments. Change your environments. Go outside. Change the room that you work in. Move to a different city. Move to a different fucking country. Literally, novelty stimulates the brain. They say if you want to like prevent dementia or prevent memory loss, as you get older in life, you should constantly be changing your environment, constantly moving your furniture around, actually constantly be moving your body too. I don't know if I shared any of my story about how I've changed environments, but I moved out of the States. I was living in Pittsburgh, PA, and now I'm living part-time in Mexico. And honestly, it was like a total game changer having removed myself out of an environment where I was just like, it was just so predictable, you know? I needed to get out of this predictable environment and get into a place that was fresh and expansive and inspiring. And so here I am. This is where it's all beginning, you know, Tulum, Mexico, out of my natural environment. All day, I actually move around and work in different places in my house. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4 different spots in my house that I do creative work. And this is actually my first time sitting here and doing this creative work. And it feels really good, actually. It's really comfortable. I got my tea in my hand, like able to like kind of lean back a little bit. So thanks for rocking it here with me. But this one, okay, so this next tip is gonna sound maybe a little crass, but it's actually really good advice. Lower the bar. Lower your fucking standards, okay? Lower your standards of yourself. Don't be such a perfectionist. Even maybe make something bad on purpose. If you're a perfectionist, and you really struggle with not performing at your absolute best, just make something bad on purpose to get the somatic experience of not being fucking perfect. I'm not perfect. Look at me. Literally, I fuck up on camera all the time. I stutter my words. I find myself using ums and uhs and you knows. Like, it's so annoying to me, but this is part of the process. It is part of learning. We're never going to learn if we don't mess up. Like, you don't see a child fall down when they're trying to walk and then they go, fuck it, I can't walk. I'll never walk. I'm never doing this again. I'm not walking perfect. Like it's not in our nature. So it's kind of weird that we've been conditioned as perfectionists through our, adolescence and into our adult life. And I guess even really young kids can have this perfectionist bug to them too. And, I think that's all around trauma and conditioning, of course, but it's not natural. So lower the bar, stop holding yourself to such high standards, make up dumb things all day long. I literally sing to myself, by myself, to inanimate objects, to the trees, to the birds. I have a spider friend that lives in my house. I refuse to kill, but like I will just kind of be silly, and just in that silly nonsensical process it opens up more passageways to actually create something that's very powerful and very profound. Another good one, of course, again, this isn't advice. These are just tips, okay? So this next one is to schedule blank space. So what does that mean? Actually let yourself be bored. Like if nothing's going on one weekend, don't try to find something to do. If you don't have plans on your schedule, don't go like opening up event listings or calling up friends and texting people, seeing what there is to do. Like there's a reason for space, just like in music and just like in sound healing. It is the space that allows the resonance to grow. So as creatives, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as anybody who is making a life for themselves, from themselves, then you need to let yourself be bored. Because if you're trying to fill in every single gap, you are not allowing the resonance to take place. You're not allowing space to breathe and for these ideas and emotions to pour through. It's the echoes. And in sound healing, you have to stop playing the sound and just let that reverberation happen, because it's in those silent moments, even after the reverberation stops, that those patterns and those memories will settle into your neurology. So it's very interesting in that way. And I think a lot of creatives and social butterflies, they really try to fill up their space, and they feel inadequate if they're not doing something, if they're not, engaging with external reality in some way. But I'll tell you what, I don't do a thing. It is Friday night and I do not go out, because I would rather just have the empty space to do what I need to do as somebody who is creating something different for myself. So different for myself, whatever. Anyway, enough about me. Next, I don't know how many of these I have, but this is number 8. Follow the energy, then follow the plan. So like I can be pretty rigid sometimes. It's how I've gotten through life. It is my protective strategy to be very rigid, very straightforward, very blunt. But that has kind of screwed me over in some ways, especially now that I've gotten older and just settled into a different life path. I've had to change that rule a little bit. So there's, this rule that I used to stick to, and you maybe even heard me say it online, but it's from Layla Hermosi. She says, "Fuck your mood, follow the plan." I like that to a degree, but I think it just really looks a little bit different from creatives. I think that rule really only applies whenever you're not in the creative process. I think it's like that. I think that rule applies when you've already are in one, when you're already in one cycle and you're like, okay, this is kind of this, I know that this is the trajectory of that cycle, so I'm going to take the steps that I know regardless of how it is that I feel. But depending on what cycle you're in depends on how much you need to push. Like a lot of times the way that we feel as artists, as creatives, we are creating from a place of our emotion. We are acting from a space of how we feel and how we move through this world. You really have to honor your cycles, and you really have to follow the energy. And sometimes that means that the quote unquote plan has to shift a little bit. So work in cycles, you have to honor your creative seasons. Sometimes there's input, then there's incubation, then there's expression, and then there's integration. And usually they happen in those cycles. If you pay attention, they'll usually happen in that order. But when you're integrating, especially as a creative or somebody who feels very deeply, it's really hard to say, well, I'm integrating all of these, all of these emotions, all of this stimuli, all of these downloads that I've just had over the last, week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm just gonna get up tomorrow at 6 a.m. no matter what, and I'm gonna keep pushing through because that's what was on my schedule and that's part of the plan. So it's a very fine line as entrepreneurs to honor that. I know that Layla Hermosi would not be happy with me going against the plan right now. But honestly, as a woman, especially, I have learned to listen to my cycles and I can be a lot more productive with the different phases through that cyclical process than trying to push through and follow the quote unquote plan through every single season, no matter what my feelings are, no matter what my mood is, quote unquote. So I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding the quote, but that's the way I took it. I think that's the way a lot of people take it. And I think it's important to pay attention to our cycles. And of course, men and women are a lot different when it comes to that. It's really about your particular needs, how you interact with the world around you. And honestly, having minimal input and eating clean is going to make sure that these cycles are more consistent and they're not so debilitating whenever you come in and out of one of these cycles. A lot of people go into either manic or depressive states when they're going through either a cycle of expression or integration because they're kind of attached. I think because they're attached to the cycle that they were just going through, or rather the period that they were just going through, and also because they're full of toxicity, whether it's emotional toxicity or chemical toxicity. So it's important to take care of your body. It's important to take care of your mind and your spirit if you want to have an impact on the world. And leading into the next one, speaking of, is protect your peace. Constant stimulation is going to create burnout. Burnout kills creativity. So do toxic people, toxic environments, toxic foods. All of that shit is going to kill your vibe. So you have to protect your peace at all costs. No exceptions, no explanations, no feeling sorry. It's your peace. It's your creative process. This is your life. These are your gifts. And this is what is ultimately making you happy and making the world a better place. Okay, this one's kind of an interesting one that I heard. And actually, I think it's really applied a lot to me as a songwriter, and that is to create for one person. I used to write every single song that I had for a particular person or a particular group of people. And I think a lot of artists do that, but it kind of just gives you a little bit of a connection, a little bit of perspective, so to speak. A lot of times as artists and entrepreneurs, we don't create for ourselves. The whole purpose, like I said at the beginning, is our gifts back to humanity. We do these things and we follow our missions because we want to give back to the rest of the world. So it's really important to do that. If you're feeling stuck, think of one person. Even sometimes, your past self, your future self. I think that's a really beautiful way to create as well. And a couple more. I know this list is kind of long. Sometimes I just start writing and then I don't know where to stop. So maybe I'll edit this out. Maybe I won't. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll hate it. You can tell me later in the comments. So another one, separate your creation from your editing. Okay, this I think is what's got me stuck last weekend is I was trying to do everything all at once. There's different brain states for different processes of your endeavor. So separate the creation from the editing, from the publishing, blah, 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 from the secretarial work, okay? Don't try to do it all. Don't try to wear all the hats at once. Another way to stay creative is to collaborate. Creativity multiplies in proximity to other creators. Again, the rule of fives. I don't know the name of the rule, but there's a lot of data on this. It says whoever you spend the most time with, you are the average of those people. So spend your time in proximity to other creatives, other people who are pushing their limits, other people who are inspiring and trying to do better. Finally, stop second guessing yourself. Stop wondering if you're making the right move. Stop searching for answers. Stop taking advice from people who aren't living the fucking life that you want to live. Stop listening to these episodes if you need to. If these episodes are confusing you, shut it down. We don't need that, okay? Ultimately, this is your intuition. This is your divine inspiration, the unique, beautiful perspective that only you have. No one else in the world can see through your eyes. So all of these things are going to leave you stuck if you continue to search for answers. There are no answers. You are creating the story, word by word, page by page. It's a beautiful thing. As creative beings, we are blessed to be able to express ourselves in this way. And really what the Sound Body Initiative is an opportunity for us to live and be and move and see and understand in our fullest expression. So don't look back at the what ifs. You deserve to see your dreams come to reality. And most importantly, the world deserves to experience the beautiful gifts and the beautiful place that you'll create by sharing those with others. So, you're gonna make me cry now. Until next time, my beautiful souls, beautiful hearts, I love you so much. Keep up the light.
What's up, conscious creator? If you're ready to give back to your body in the same way that it gives back to you, I highly recommend checking out my website at sound-body.org, where you can find more music resources and integrative products that increase your capacity for living well. And if you love to dance and you're ready to receive these transmissions through your own sound body, don't forget to listen to this week's mix at Sound Body Radio. You can find me on YouTube at JRio Music or SoundCloud at Jessica Rio Music, or simply by searching Sound Body Radio. As always, your support doesn't just feed me as an independent creator, but it helps those around you find their path back to their higher calling. So, thanks for listening, and remember, keep up the light.